Hello, and welcome back to another week of the DP World Tour picks and bets. Skylar Hoke here. I say another week, Tom. We haven't been together since June on the calendar, my friend. I've missed you. How's your summer going?
Yeah, I've missed you too. It's been like a little hole in my life, not doing these weekly. Obviously, Barros stepped in there for a couple of weeks for us, which was great. But look, it's been one of those sort of summers of golf, really. A little bit of sort of interruption in the DP World Tour schedule here and there, and then we've had bigger events that have been more sort of PGA Tour crossovers and things like that. So I don't think we've missed a whole lot. Missed some exciting winners, right? But in terms of what we sort of do, I don't think we've missed too much. So yeah, good. Summer's been good. Excited to hear more about your trip as we get time to talk about that. I'm glad you had a great time and it was all safe and sound and you're back. Yeah, good event to come back into as well.
Yeah, hitting a stretch run on the DP World Tour, so good time. I know I missed some bigger events. I like getting to see the Barracuda and the ISCO for our DP World Tour guys, the Olympic, Scottish. We had, a substantial break and got some good data. And now we have a really good kind of stretch run here to basically let the DP World Tour take the limelight. Some of the golf events, some of the better events will be in the fall. Some of the better events will get some DraftKings contests, hopefully that are decent size that we can all kind of strive together with. So excited for that coming up here. And yeah, it was good to see. I mean, last week, the Danish, always one of my favorite events, especially when I was in the Himmerland. But the French are hot, back-to-back wins, Rivetto, LaCroix. So cool to see for both of them. But a decent event here at the home course of Belfry for the British Masters. So excited to jump really right back into it as we go here. And yeah, for the listeners who kind of kept in touch with us on Twitter and reached out, super appreciative. It was awesome to take a once in a lifetime trip. Took 6 weeks on the road in the RV with a 10-month-old and me and my wife. So a lot of us called us crazy, but it went really strong. Awesome vacation that we got to see a bunch of spots across the U.S. So blast of that, but ready to get back into the swing of kind of a routine of golf. And so we can kind of get going with the event here for the British Masters. Off the top, any thoughts, kind of differences on the Belfry? We've seen it now for at least 4 years in a row. Obviously, a Ryder Cup venue here in the past two. Overall thoughts headed to the week, Tom?
Yeah, I think what we kind of expect from the Belfry is what we're going to get again this week. It's going to be one of those really strong approach play weeks. You want to keep it in play. There is some water, in places. Really good chance to finish strongly. I think if anyone sort of remembers Hillier, I think he went birdie, eagle, birdie, didn't need to finish when he won there. And there's so much make and break. We saw Richie Ramsey have a bit of heartbreak on the final hole here a couple of years ago as well. So really dramatic closing holes, I would say, at the Belfry. And look, it's a decent tournament. Good field. We've got Tyrrell Hatton back in the field on the DP World Tour. People will make what they make of that, but he's back, and it certainly adds some strength to the field, and certainly helps with the betting odds and things like that. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he plays it back. But yeah, I think we know what the Belfry is. It's definitely a strong approach play. Can get quite tight in places, and you just want a strong all-round game. Scrambling's important as ever as well. So you can get streaky with the putter, and kind of Olesen did it that way, right? Like he made some bombs in the last couple of holes, but overall, you just need to be really accurate.
Yep, 100%. I mean, I think we all know. I say we all know, acting like every single person had their heart ripped out by Richard Bland, here a few years back when he beat Guido in the playoff, where everyone was celebrating Bland winning for the first time. Us Guido backers had a difficult morning that day, but definitely maybe a sign of redemption for him returning here again. But of course, that tests them in different ways. So I'm excited to kind of bring a little bit more into the mix compared to some of the more open courses. You mentioned it, Tyrrell Hatton does not just come into as a favorite, but a healthy favorite that probably even prices up a lot of the golfers beyond him. He's 7.5 to 1 at the deepest as of this morning. If I see any update, let's see. Yeah, still plus 750 in a lot of books overall. Followed in by McKibben, Rasmus, Cantor, and then last week's winner, LaCroix. Tom, if I said 40 to 1 and lower, I think you're on somebody in this range, as am I. Is there anybody? I guess there's a 45 for your guy. Is anybody here that you're intrigued by?
I was tempted by Laurie Cantor at 35-1. I thought that was interesting. I think he's kind of got that win now that everyone was worried about he was never going to get to, and he's shown his class. I think Tom McKibben's just being overrated in the market quite often. I know he had a decent week last week in the end, finishing 10th, but he's not really moved from this point in the market, right? And I know he's had some strong performances, but same with Rasmus, that they've had a couple of really just disappointing finishes in the event. So when I look at it, I think if I was going to pick anyone, it would be probably Ollison at 28 or Cantor at 35. But in the end, I've gone a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I really liked Rasmus, and I almost went with him a winner here at the Belfry, ball striking off the charts last week, second at the halfway point, and I think he finished like outside the top 50, was putrid putting on Sunday. You know, at a point, I mean, he was clearly odds-on favorite, if not, people thought he could run away with it until the back nine on Saturday really fell apart, or Friday, I think it was, when the conditions got up for him. But so I thought a little bit interest there, and then, man, I mean, Briston Lawrence was 35-1, you know, coming off of the awesome Open Championship. Then he went to the 3M. No surprise, didn't play that well there after all the high emotionally for there. And then he comes back, plays on the Sunshine Tour last week, dominating victory for him. Had some intrigue overall, but like I mentioned off the top of the show, I mean, for me, it's just Guido Migliozzi here at the top. I mean, Guido and your golfer who you're going into, a pair of Italian stallions who we are big fans of, just have played awesome all summer long. You know, have showed that even at the biggest of stages, they can compete. You know, for Guido and your guy, it was a made cut at the Open Championship with really good ball striking numbers. Olympics, same exact type of thing where they were pretty decent overall. And then the lead up, a win so far this year, another time in contention. I mean, Guido has had old Guido vibes, and I would have liked him to play last week. It's his first time since the Olympics. He is 12th in the race to Dubai, which puts him well within reach for a PGA Tour card, which makes my heart flutter a little bit, Tom. Could you imagine Guido Migliozzi on the PGA Tour? But, you know, his course history here, his profile of his game, he's kind of made it a little bit more built around the accuracy type. So you pair that with the good irons and a better short game, I think the Belfry's tailor-made for him.
Yeah, he went for a tough spell, Sky, as you would know, and it's just you always trust with a player like Guido Migliozzi that he's going to bounce back. He's been brilliant. He's a winner. He's shown that multiple times. He's then come back out of the depths of not playing very well and just got back to what he was. There was sort of talk about him maybe changing tours and things like that, and maybe that just kind of took his eye off the ball. But he's just excelled again, right? He's 27 years of age and he's already a 4-time DP World Tour winner. He's also lost in a playoff here, as we said, to Richard Bland, so could conceivably be a 5-time winner. One of the more impressive performers so far this year out of nowhere is Joe Dean. He beat him in a playoff at the KLM Open back in June. So when you just look at kind of the scouts that he's got, I mean, Adrian House and a pair of South Africans and Louis Diego and Justin Harding in his first win, Darius Van Driel in the Belgian knockout, and then Rasmus Højgaard in France. And it's just the manner in which he wins, right? And the major performances and things like that. So just an exceptional talent. And yeah, we know what happened to Richard Bland. And actually, 54-hole leader here last year as well.
Really bad Sunday.
So, you know, he's almost won twice at this golf course in 3 starts. And yes, there's been a miscut thrown in between. But let's focus on the positives. He's flying and, you know, just very good talent.
Yeah, of course. Excited for him here. I think 40 is a good number too. He easily could have been 28s with the other guys. So 40 with an each way is juicy for me on a Monday.
On that, I still don't get why players like I really like Connor Syme as a player. I think he's got all the tools to succeed. It's almost one of those ones where once a player has won in a year, they just don't think it's going to happen again. Apart from the Croy is a little bit shorter than Ollison, but the Migliozzi, right? I just don't see how there's a 15-point difference between Tom McKibben and Guido Migliozzi. We know what Guido Migliozzi is. We know he's good for a win a year or so. Laurie Cantor has won once, but why is he shorter than Guido Migliozzi? So there's a lot of conversation as to how they play on here. Like Jordan Smith is slowly slipping down the odds board, but he was a player that was normally out there 22 to 1, 25 to 1. Richard Mansell as well has been, we've been quite high on him, but he's been someone that's perennially short in the odds board. And Guido's always sort of overlooked a little bit. I think, that comes down to his volatile nature, but that seems to have gone over the last probably, 10, 12 weeks, right? I mean, the 24th, 8th win, 22nd, a couple of missed cuts, 31st and 22nd. And when there are a couple of missed cuts are at the BMW International Open and the Scottish Open, I don't really mind. Like, they're tough events. Anyone can miss the cut based on weather and draws and things like that. So not too concerned about those couple of missed cuts. He's bounced back really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's tailor-made. I've been betting Guido a bunch. I've been betting Manacero since you've been on him at the Scottish Open. Why are you continuing the faith?
Yeah, look, this is a player he's made, 6, 7 cuts in a row now. The best was 7th at the KLM, 10th at the Italian Open. Wasn't great at the BMW International, but still had a second round 66. And then it was the Scottish where we were at huge prices, and he was third going into the weekend. Ball striking was absolutely insane. He was putting like me and you, Sky, and that's probably an insult to me and you on the Friday. Strong Open Championship 31st there, and then played well in the Olympics, like 18th place. He's not sort of putting up trees at this point, but already won this season. He's won twice on the Challenge Tour last season to get himself back into this position. Like, I truly believe the market still quite hasn't corrected to who Matteo Manacero is. This is a player that for the first 4 years of his DP World Tour career, he won every year. And he's not really being treated in that way. And, one of the Johnson Workwear win earlier in the season is one of his most emphatic. He shot a second round 61 and then held on and, won by 3 strokes. So if he's the player that we believe he was sort of, back between 2010 and 2013 when he won 4 years in a row, then I'm surprised he has the same way it's a lazy comparison with Migliozzi because they're both Italian, but they both have the same sort of skill set in the sense that, Guido can obviously pump it a little bit further off the tee, but it's him refining that's helped him, right? I mean, Manacero's approach numbers 12th, 10th, 17th, 2nd, 23rd, and 17th in his last sort of 6 starts. It's utterly ridiculous. I mean, there's not really a better ball striker consistently at the moment than Manacero. And I just think that we should be sort of aiming with him until said otherwise. Yeah,
I don't disagree with you. I think there's 3 of them that have been kind of summer flings, I would say, with Guido and then Matteo, and then one more golfer who's a little bit more down the odds board that I'll bring up, and I'm kind of debating between adding one more of them. I'm there between it. Now, if I kept going, are we aligned on the next golfer? Do you have anyone? I'm trying to think.
I have 50.
Yeah, you go before we get to deeper Swede.
Yeah, so I think Andy Sullivan, a little bit of what we've said about those couple of players there. Like, we know what Andy Sullivan is in his career. He's a winner. He's a strong player. He knows how to get over the line. It's been a little while. There's no debating that. He's someone that has, probably lost his game to a certain extent and then finding his way back. But I'm always quite intrigued. I mean, he's still only 37 years old. It's not like he's sort of retirement age or anything like that. He won the English Championship in 2020 by 7 strokes from Adrian Otaegui. For someone to shoot 66, 62 going into the weekend and then finish 64, 65 is incredible. When you look even before that, the Portugal Masters 9-stroke victory there. And I don't mind that Portugal Masters win as a little bit of a reference point either, when we've seen sort of Justin Walters play decent golf here over the last 2 or 3 visits, and his best course ever before that was the Portugal Masters. So I think that's worthy of keeping attraction. But it's actually the ball striking that's really caught my eye. In recent weeks, he was struggling with that. He's now sort of piecing that together. It's still not, exactly where he'd want it to be, Sky, but he's just, solid. And once he's doing that, and he can kind of get the ball round, and he knows how to score. And the highlights have just been so good in recent weeks. Like, he was 4th at the Scandinavian Mix, missed three or four cuts in the middle there, but he was actually 4th after round 1, 5th after round 2 at the ISCO, and finished 16th. Then goes and finishes 2nd on the International Series event on the Asian Tour. And then just been strong. Czech Masters 28th. He was 7th going into the final round. 27th last week, 9th going into the weekend. He opened 74 last week, Sky, and then shot as Friday 64, not just to make the cut, but to be inside the top 10. So he's just got that really deep scoring ability, probably right up there with some of the best on tour in terms of just being able to shoot a low number, a great first round leader candidate in that respect. And then you just look at his course form here. He's 9th on debut, where he got better throughout the week at the UK Championship. The British Masters, again, he grew into the week. 12th after round 1, 6th he finished. A couple of years ago, misses the cut for the first time. But then last year, 54-hole co-leader with Guido, shoots a 75 in the final rounds. Obviously, both of them struggled, but finishes 15th there. And that's another good sign. I just think he's a player that's got a healthy ability to win. He's done it 4 times already on the DP World Tour. And yeah, I think there's still more to come from Sullivan this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Bumblebee, right? He's got somebody who can take it really deep. Scares me to back him. I've never been one to really jump on, but scared just because he could blitz it.
Yeah, fair warning to people, as you've just said there, like scary. Like every time I think Sullivan's a great pick, like he hasn't been. But at 55-1 for someone that's finished 2nd and 4th amongst his last sort of 6 or 7 starts. The approach numbers were just awful earlier in the season. And look, he still lost strokes at the Danish, but he was good off the tee, and that is encouraging. And that seems to have been tidied up over the last sort of 10 weeks or so. And that's really what's getting him back into contention.
Yep, for sure. Without getting into next selections together here, the third one that I thought was interesting to discuss was Shubhankar Sharma. Mm-hmm. So for me, Sharma has had the exact same profile of basically Guido in Manasaro. Yeah. Unbelievable approach numbers, spiked a bunch, basically contended in the exact same situation. So I thought it was interesting from Guido, Manasaro, and Sharma. All 3 played well at the Open Championship in the wrong side of the wave with really good approach and accuracy numbers. And so I bet them at the Olympics. I bet them, at the Open. I think I'm going to add actually both of them right here and kind of set up a card with 7 golfers, with a few of them a bit deeper. But there's 90s on Sharma out there to be double the price. And when I basically had looped them all together, I can't not bet Sharma this week, especially when he was in the mix all week long. The 14th place finish was not resident of how he played last week long, was fighting for the lead on Saturday. So overall, I mean, a 5th at the Italian Open, was awesome at the Genesis too, the Scottish, where he led the field in approach. Even when Manasaro had that amazing type of approach week, I believe Sharma even beat him out that week, right? So I think both of those guys, I don't want to miss out on after I've been so tight with them. So Guido, Manasaro, Sharma, my starting 3. And then we align on the next golfer here as well. So if you want to go first on Henrik Norlander, he's my favorite bet of them all.
Yeah, just quickly on Sharma before I move on there. Like, one of the things I would say, players have been able to overcome poor course form at the Belfry in the past. I think it's very much one of those events that if you're just even, just narrowly off of it, you can get some really horrible numbers around the Belfry. Some volatile miscuts, a little bit like Wentworth in that respect. Like you see some players, the record's not very good. If you believe that golfer is suited to the golf course, you should just persevere, because these sort of results can spike. There are obviously, as we sort of spoken about with Sullivan and other players that will come on to, people that, consistently good here. Guido's had a couple of chances to win. Like, you can be consistent here, but you can also just have really volatile performances. I mean, Stephen Galler was 2nd here and he's had 6 miscuts. Fernandez Castano is 1, had 2 miscuts and 2 finishes outside the top 50. Campillo is 7th on debut, 3 miscuts. So you can sort of bounce back from poor course form. So just keep that in mind for players like Sharma. But yes, Henrik Norlander, he is a player that, look, he's got the Swedish flag next to him, but by all accounts, he's played most of his career on the PGA Tour, right? And he's always been sort of on the periphery of kind of getting his car back a lot, but he has been in contention over there and had chances to win, right? And since he's sort of come on the DP World Tour in this kind of alliance thing, I guess, the 23rd at the KLM Open was eye-catching. Then he was 25th at the ISCO, where he was 15th going into the weekend. He finished the Barracuda with a final round, or a weekend of 66, 64, finished 11th there. 12th at the 3M Open. 12th at the 3M Open, really hard to ignore. I know the 3M Open is not the strongest PGA Tour event, but it's still stronger than, kind of DP World Tour regular events. Shoots a pair of 69s and misses the cut at the Wyndham. So, yes, you'd look at his most recent performance and see he's missed the cut. But by all accounts, he's in really good form. And I just thought the 80-1 Sky for a player that is playing at a higher level, we see so often with what does Ryan Fox's 34th place finish on the PGA Tour mean when he comes back to the DP World Tour, etc. And that's where Norlander's at, I think. And his approach was really good at the 3M. It was solid at the Barracuda. He had a good short game there as well. He's just had these spike weeks. Myrtle Beach, he was 20th as well, and he had a good start. So, I think Norlander's probably a better player than he's shown throughout his career because he's playing in a tougher competition. And I think he can really show that here, where he's put a bank of form together. And also, be remiss not to mention that Swedes just have a really good record in the British Masters. They play really well in this event. Kinhalt's won one at a different golf course. Bjork's been second. I think they've got a couple of winners in there in the past. So, yes, he's basically American, but he is Swedish, and it counts on the flags.
The thing was, Tom, when we get these opportunities to bet PGA Tour players, it's DP World Tour, we've probably kicked ourselves more that we haven't jumped on them, because even the lower tier guys who maybe aren't even in that much of form step right in and have contended many of times. I mean, we saw Rand Snedeker almost have a first round lead, during the summer, like these type of things. And I was betting Norlander on the PGA Tour at these numbers last month.
Yeah.
Like literally, and coming through close to cashing tickets with him. So when he was taking advantage of this spot start, it was a no-brainer for me. Wyndham Championship, I expected huge things for him there because he kind of needs something for the fall to get going. The only reason he got into that field was he Monday qualified. So he went 12th, 11th, Monday qualified, and then missed the cut there after he was 25th. So 3 top 25s in a row on a Monday qualifying on the PGA Tour, setting up here. I think it's an absolute smash for Norlander this week.
And when you look at he's had 2 chances to win. Reference, he has had a chance to win the PGA Tour. He's had 2 playoff losses on the PGA Tour, both in a huge number of people got through. So at the 2016 RSM Classic, I think it was Mackenzie Hughes' first win, but that was also Billy Horschel, Kevin Jacobs, Blaine Barber in that as well. Last year, Sanderson Farms, Ludwig Gobert, Ben Griffin, Luke List, Scott Stallings, and List comes out on top. To be in those kind of tournaments and those kind of playoffs gives you a sign of what he is, right? He's a 2-time winner on the Corn Ferry Tour, so we know he can win at that level, which is what I don't know how far, we have this kind of debate all the time, like how far that is away from the DP World Tour, but there's somewhere in between, right? And I think he's just a really good player that has struggled to really solidify himself on the PGA Tour, but whilst he's in form, we should take advantage of it. Really surprises me, Sky, that Henrik Norlander's 6'4". I don't know if that surprises you. I've always just thought he was short.
It does. Yeah, I don't envision him being towering over. And I guess if we're talking about burly individuals, PGA Tour guys, Harry Hall is playing here, in his home country. So good for Harry. I debated it. I mean, a winner on the PGA Tour a month ago, and here we are getting a 50. Basically, I think what he was at the ISCO when he won. I mean, a little bit better there, but. Yeah, I was interested in Harry Hall. I think he sprays it a little bit too much for me to feel comfortable with the Belfry. But yeah, that is my last golfer sub 100 to 1. There is 100 still in the States on your guy here, but you're going back to the well. You were on him last week. Man Rocket, Lucas Bjerregaard was right there. 2-stroke lead going into Sunday. Our old friend, it was great to see him playing so well on the Challenge Tour, getting in the mix right away in his home country. Tom, you're sticking with the faith again this week for Bjerregaard.
Yeah, look, I think the first thing to point out is that probably not a course that's tailor-made to Lucas Bjerregaard's sort of game, right? Like he can get a little bit wild off the tee, and he's more about power than anything else. But he was 20th in strokes gained approach last week, which I think is solid enough. Good signs that are coming in. Led the field in tee to green, and we've seen him perform on those types of events as well. And I just look at it and you think, okay, is Lucas Bjerregaard just playing well because he's playing on the Challenge Tour, or is he going to step up and do it on the DP World Tour? He steps up, finishes in 2nd place, so now we know where he's at in terms of his form. Will it last forever? Probably not. This is Lucas Bjerregaard. He's very volatile, but we've now got 4th, 14th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 2nd with one miscut in between all of that. And that second obviously coming on the DP World Tour. If he'd have finished kind of like 15th or something last week, I probably wouldn't be so high, just because you wonder how long it's going to last. But I mean, he nearly won, and he was the 36th hole leader to start before that as well at the Scottish Challenge. He finished really fast at the Irish Challenge to finish in 7th place there. So, or the Northern Ireland Open. So it's, yeah, I just think he's just playing too well to ignore this number. If he was kind of 50 to 1, I go, right, it's not the right golf course for him. Let's kind of skip him. But 100 to 1, I'm just getting the talent of we know what this guy offers at the very best.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites to back ever on the DP World Tour, one of the best ball strikers. And in the other data that we kind of chatted a little bit too, he was second in strokes gained approach with some laser stuff. So, I mean, just a really, really good approach week for him. And I've liked some of these Challenge Tour guys that have played well and really gotten themselves in the mix. I mean, Rivetto had won on the Challenge Tour and probably gave him some confidence there in the mix. He almost won 2 weeks in a row. You know, he played well again last week. John Perry was another one, came in, played well. You know, Neargard Peterson has came in and Robinson Thompson, another one. I bet him 2 weeks in a row. He should have probably won last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago when he made his first start. These Challenge Tour guys, see at the back end of the DP World Tour, there's no difference. You know, they're probably, I mean, no different than the PGA Tour, the Korn Ferry Tour. Matt McCarty just won 3 times in 6 weeks.
Yeah,
he's better than Henrik Norlander in those types on the PGA Tour, right? So you know, I like those guys getting in there. So I do have confidence they can step in. I just couldn't bet everybody, and Bjerregaard had to be cut.
Yeah, and look, I think the thing is, you just look at it and go, look, this probably isn't the best golf course for him. But if I just look at where he's played well in the past, I mean, he's won the Portugal Masters. We've already talked about how that could, you know, be relevant. He's got first and a second there. He's won the Dunhill Links. He's finished third at Wentworth at the BMW PGA, finished second at Crans. So when it has been, you know, just about accuracy as well, he has stepped up to the plate. That's obviously him at his very best. And, you know, when he was kind of beating Tiger Woods in match plays and things like that. But you know, he's had a top 10 at the British Masters in the past in 2018, and as you said, I was on John Parry last week. The only one that's kind of let me down was Hamish Brown. He was playing really good Challenge Tour stuff, but he was okay after round 1. And as you said, like Robinson Thompson, like I was a bit like, you know, is the form just Challenge Tour? And as soon as he played really well, I thought, well, these guys are in form. And look, I think it's just they've had a really good run of events. They've been strong events. They've been back to back. They're in, you know, they're sharp and they're coming into courses that require that. And for the people that have had 4, 5, 6 weeks off, I mean, there's a couple of them coming in that way. I think just being that better prepared. I mean, Sean Crocker hasn't played for 5 weeks. There's just players like that Callum Hill hasn't played for 5 or 6 weeks. They're players that you think probably the upside of them are better than some of the others in the field, but they're just not prepared. And I just think some of these Challenge Tour guys are really sharp, and Bjerregaard's certainly there.
I mean, the last picture I saw of Guido in between the break was him and Renato Paratore just partying it up in Dubai. So that probably was the in between, you know?
Yeah.
Best way you can prep, hanging out with your boy there. But so deeper down the board, I've got 3. We don't even have to go in numerical order. I think you got one left, right?
I'm left. I think we're both.
And I guess we're both on them. So I'll start off. Todd Clements. A golfer who you were pretty keen on a jump back for him on our last show. And what we saw from Todd Clements pretty much was, you know, some of the best golf, I think, of 2024. Leading into it, kind of popped a little bit at the Scandinavian mix. And then we thought the KLM could make a little bit, I think it was the KLM we had talked to the Italian Open, could have made some sense for him there. But what really stood out to me, I like kind of doing the research on the Barracuda on the individual stroke play. Yeah. And it's natural in your and I's studying of this that we just look at this. But for people that are leaderboard shopping, T33 at the Barracuda doesn't tell the story. Stableford scoring, right? Where basically birdies are double bogeys. So what ends up happening is somebody who shoots 13th in stroke play will look way worse on the leaderboard if they didn't do it via birdieing everything versus saving themselves from bogeys. And that's exactly what Clements do. A similar story was JJ Spawn on the PGA Tour, who was awesome at the Barracuda, but wasn't the same leaderboard association with how well he played. So Clements did that. Then he made the cut on the International Series in England, and then 30th at the Czech Masters. And then last week he was top 10. Irons were great. Putting was great. I think if he can kind of keep that combination, you know, he's played once at the Belfry, was not good. Again, we talked about kind of history not being on people's sides sometimes, and he's been known to pop out of nowhere for his big performances. So at a number like 150 to 1, was very intrigued at Todd Clements.
Yeah, I think he's just a strong player, right? A player that's got a bit of pedigree, knows how to get the job done. We've seen him do it. I know it's a very cliche thing to say, said it a couple of times already this show, but someone that's just developed very clearly, like he was on I can't remember what tour it's on, but he was on one of the mini tours. He won a couple of times in 2019. Then he wins the Challenge Tour in 2022. Comes on the DP World Tour, finishes, wins the Czech Masters in 2023. It's that natural progression that you just go, look, every single time he's gone up a step, he's won again. Not consistent. He's not a consistent golfer in any respect, but as you've just alluded to, the last 3, 4, 5 starts, he has been pretty consistent, and he probably isn't getting the credit for what he did at the Barracuda. Not only is he 13th instead of 33rd in terms of sort of true scoring, but just to go over there and play that sort of event, like if you were going to pick out some DP World Tour players that were going to play well, you wouldn't necessarily come to him, right? You wouldn't expect him to go over and play so well. So, anything you can do in that respect, and certainly amongst players, we're talking about Nick Dunlap winning that tournament and things like that. There, Max Grazeman playing well. Like these players, better players to be around. Taylor Pendrick inside the top 5 there. Like there's a different level of sort of player that he's going up against, and he's keeping up with them. So don't need too much convincing on Todd Clements from my side.
Yeah, I think sky high talent with him in a good number. So I'm there. And let's go into our next golfer who we are both on together. I will let you set the table for Justin Walters.
Yeah, Justin Walters, there's always a kind of running thing with him that he's kind of trying to save his card at this time of year, right? And he is definitely trying to do that again. It was normally the Portugal Masters where he kept keeping it, and it's because he kept finishing second there. He's done that here now. He's got 2 top 3 finishes, had a chance to win at this golf course. I think he was 2 shots ahead going into the final round when Rasmus chased him down at the UK Championship, right? He'd gone wire to wire, and this was a player that still hasn't won on the DP World Tour, and has struggled in that department. Shot an open round 64 and just clung on for dear life going into the final. And as soon as he got to a playoff, you're probably going to be a little bit kind of dismissive of his chances. Misses the cut the following year at the British Masters, which is probably not too much of a surprise when you bounce back from the kind of the result that you've had. Comes right back to the world, finishes 3rd, always inside the top 6 at the British Masters 2 years ago. And an evening of what looks like a bit of a down result for him, 23rd last year, 8th going into the final round. Whatever reason, Justin Walters absolutely loves this course, probably just purely because it's the premium on the approach play, which is one of his strengths, right, or his main strength when he gets going. Just a really talented golfer that just hasn't got over the line. And if he was someone that had got over the line at any point, he's half the odds he is now, even if he just done it once, right? We look at it, Portugal Masters, I mentioned a couple of times now, 2 seconds there, Joburg Open 2nd, really high level plays, BMW South African Open 4th, KLM Open 3rd, lots of really good performances on the sort of golf courses that you want to see. And yeah, he has got to put his finger out again. He's got to save that card, and for whatever reason, that's how he plays his best golf, and he's got some work to do. And last week's top 10 is a really good sign after some poor form. He's been kind of back and forth from the Challenge Tour and DP World Tour, and that's not something he's really used to either. He's used to kind of playing DP World Tour stuff even when he's struggling. So maybe just struggling to adjust to that. I think he's had some sort of changes in his personal life as well. So I just think Justin Walters at the number is ridiculous, like 250 to 1. I think he is, Sky. I think that's still the number. I can't ignore someone at 250 to 1 who's got 2 top 3 finishes at the golf course and finished 10th last week. Like that's the really quick summary.
Absolutely. And it was done without irons last week. He was really, really good with his iron play. And then the other thing I think, I like using data golf, especially in the DP World Tour, can kind of zoom things in and give us context on where the players stood heading into their previous events. If you look at the course history tools, it says like strokes gained above baseline. So normally you'll see like somebody random who hasn't had a strong season pop up for like 1 year and be top of that. Walters has played here 4 times, and of guys with legit sample sizes is by far number 1 in that category, meaning he's coming in with basically no form, playing well and doing it multiple times. That gives me a lot of confidence in how he feels here. Plus last week. So Walters was an absolute yes for me.
Yeah, just literally probably price alone. Like I could have just saved all of the waffle I just said and just thought he was 10th last week, got 2 top 3s and whatever. But I mean, it's huge. And I hope that, because he seems like a really good guy to have on tour, someone that you just want to get that win. Probably feels a little bit like Richard Bland, maybe not to the same kind of scale, but that would be the sort of win that people on the tour, I think, would be sort of receptive to how important it is for someone like him.
Yep, for sure. All right, we'll close it out with the last one. At the Scandinavian Mixed, we had talked about this golfer because our friend Bradley Todd was on him at 1,000s before the market really priced it in. He ended up getting slashed to like double digits, pretty much below 100. But Mats Ege, spelled E-G-E, last name, amateur who turned professional earlier this year. That was his first, I think, pro event. He's out of East Tennessee, where he played college golf this past year out of, and had a really strong year. If you look at it, he was top 20 at the NCAA final, third at the Augusta Haskins. Like coming into it, he had a legit ranking on Data Golf for the amateur. And I love these type of guys who don't get, they're not in the top 25. So you see a lot of these dudes lighting up the PGA Tour Americas. If you watch the PGA Tour or follow the PGA Tour Americas, which is the old Mackenzie or Latino America Tour, every week is won by one of these college kids. Like you're looking at it that, Phillips, who came in and then won on the Korn Ferry Tour. All these guys are Shipley crushing out there. All these guys, but somebody who falls just below that list and has to go to the Challenge Tour is kind of forgotten about. And that's what feels like it is for Mats Ege. Last week, he got a sponsor's exemption into the event. He was tied for 5th with 3 holes to go and went bogey, double down the stretch, falling all the way to 19th. He then needed another sponsor's exemption to be in this field. But to me, if you look at kind of that history, he started with the top 20 on the Challenge Tour. He made the cut at the Barracuda. I had bet it at 500 to 1 there, and then he withdrew after the cut. So I was worried about health, missed the cut at the Czech Masters, and then top 20 last week. So still some unknown about him, how he could play, but I still think 200 gives us a little look, gives us a chance to bite without taking off, the whole apple basically, and still get a good price on him to see what this potential is.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they've overreacted too much to what he showed last week, right? Which is the main thing. Like you can still take that chance, and
if he was 5th, I think it would have been. He should have top 5 the event.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where you've got to sort of pay attention, right? It's very easy just to go, oh well, he finished where he finished, and it doesn't really mean a lot. Like 19th is fine; he's a high level talent, and the fact that even when you go round by round, he was 11th going into the final round. To be so precise to say, look, he was 5th going into the final hole, is really important and eye-catching. So yeah, good stuff there to see what he was doing.
And there was, I shouted it out on Twitter last week, but there was an amateur who finished 5th last week. Jacob Skull Olesen finished 5th in his pro, I guess not even his pro day. Well, I don't know if he was a senior at Arkansas. So I'm rather confident he's playing as an amateur, but he's going to have to start his professional career pretty soon here. Got probably into the Danish via that exemption, his home country, made the cut at the Open Championship, and then a T5 on DP World debut. He was priced pretty strong though last week, and I guess you probably won't get a discount on him moving forward after that. But always my cup of tea to keep our eyes there. That puts a bow on it for selections. 7 from my end. I think Tom had 4 with a couple of alignment, or 5 with some alignment, which we love to see. So make sure to give a shout out to our audio listeners. You can find us on Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix, available on all different podcast platforms. Rate, review, subscribe. Love to see the comments. Everything supports us here as I know football's starting. I know we got the Tour Championship. I know EPL. Look at me, Tom. Just started recently, right? Right? The trees. You like the trees. I know Axis and Bear Off are rooting there. So I keep my eyes on these guys. But DP World Tour for us is hitting the home stretch. Some awesome events. Omega should bring us some eyeballs to the PGA Tour off, and not week 1 for the NFL starting yet. So I'm expecting a really big week for us this week into next, where we can really take down some prize money. So Tom, you want to review your card from the top for us?
Yeah, just one more name, just very, very quickly. Please. Very, very opposite end of the scale to what we've just been talking about with the high level sort of amateurs and sort of newly minted pros. Oliver Wilson is just showing a couple of signs recently. He's been quite vocal about being positive about his game. He's 3 made cuts, Barracuda, Czech Masters, Danish Golf Championship. The approach play isn't quite where I want it to be really confident about him. But when you look at his record here, 11th on debut, where he was 7th going into the final round, 37th the following year. A couple of really poor performances when he was struggling, but then he was 2nd last year, and he was the 54 co-leader, I guess, with the other 2 guys that we mentioned. So he's kind of 250 to 1 as well. Has been pretty positive, and when he's positive, it's normally for a reason. So I quite like him there, but didn't quite get there, but I do like him. Yes, putting a bow on it. Matteo Menacero, 45 to 1. Andy Sullivan, 55 to 1. Henrik Norlander, 80 to 1. Lucas Bjerregaard, 100 to 1. And Justin Walters at 250 to 1.
Yep. Okay. So me, Guido Migliozzi, 40s. And I have 6 places, some 5 places other. I kind of mix and match. You'll see when I post the card. But Guido, 40 to 1. Matteo Menacero with you, Tom. I like the confidence, 40 to 1. Henrik Norlander together, 70 to 1. Shubhankar Sharma, 75. Todd Clements, 150. Matt Eag, 200. And Justin Walters, 250. Man, I like our alignment a lot, Tom. I think this could be an awesome week for us. Overall, it's good just to be back, get some good vibes together, and hopefully hit a stretch run to close out the DP World Tour. As we didn't talk about it because it's been a bit of break. We've had a good year together.
We have. And I can honestly say, this isn't for show purposes or anything like that, like, I get way more excited about doing a DP World Tour when we talk this through, because I do the podcast with Brad, obviously, on Lost of Words, but we're kind of talking about both events and we sort of split our time. This one is solely us talking about the DP World Tour, bringing it to a wider audience. And this is a perfect event for British Masters. There's some really good odds about some players. We're starting from 40 to 1 and above. And yeah, like the players that we're talking about, Matteo Menacero, Guido Migliozzi, Andy Sullivan, all just really strong players, dropping it down from the PGA Tour with Norlander as well. I think it's just a great event for people to get into. So enjoy this week, get to crowns next week before the NFL Week 1 starts, and then hopefully we get another winner before NFL starts, and we can keep you in even during the busiest weeks of sport.
Yep. Love it. Exactly right. I think just the juice is here. Expectations are higher in front of our audience. Let's deliver for Mayo Media Network. So again, thank you guys for everything. And then next week will be a Tuesday show with Labor Day here in the States on Monday. So expect us on Tuesdays for next week. We will catch you guys again. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.